All right, let's get the show up and running. Boys, welcome. Here we are. We're all back in our little hubs. We're not doing it live anymore. I'm sad. I loved that first episode.
Yeah, it was good fun, that one. I mean, me and Durbs were there. We were there. We could have done it, yesterday in the desert, Durbs, but Mitch didn't bother to show up, did he? So could have got a little studio there in Abu Dhabi or something, on Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Would have been nice. Crown Plaza surely would have had a podcasting room, 100%.
Without a doubt. And if they didn't, they would have built one in about 15 years, wouldn't they? Yeah. Podcast world.
Well, welcome, boys. This is the Race Communiqué, our second episode. This is in our second season. This, of course, is Life in the Peloton presented by MAP. But this is an exciting series that I get to do with two mates, two guys back from the old days when I used to be over there racing way back when. Of course, we've got the Director Sportive, Tom Southam, my old boss, and my old training punching bag, Luke Durbridge. Welcome, boys. Welcome. We've already done the welcome, but welcome.
Who was the punching bag in this situation?
I don't actually. How does that saying?
Was I punching you? I'm not sure.
How does that saying actually apply?
I don't really know. Sort of like I'm your doormat, maybe.
The thing is, I love how you always amp up. Like I was like so strong and so hard out training. Like, mate, you were the guy who was putting me to the sword.
Yeah, but the thing was, it was like you would always start the day just like in a fury, and you just like half a wheel in front. It'd take me a while to wake up. Then you'd eventually just wear yourself down. And then I'd be like, oh, you're so strong now. I'm like, I'm not riding any harder than what you started the day.
You know the thing with Mitch, I remember this from meeting him in Melbourne when we were training together, is like when he would be running late, he would ride hard to the point where he's at high speed by the time he arrives, so he's already going. And then he couldn't slow down again. And you've been stood there like waiting for him to get there. Then he turns up, he's like, all right, cool, let's set off at like as hard as we can now. So yeah, great.
As I'm coasting past at 40k an hour, jump on.
Get on, mate.
We got to catch the ghost me. That's already 3 minutes up the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It doesn't matter how fast you ride, you can't take back time.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's already gone.
Not in my eyes. Not in my eyes. Well, it's exciting because this series is exclusively being brought to you guys by TrainingPeaks, and TrainingPeaks is the ultimate training diary, a training platform built for runners, cyclists, triathletes, well, everyone in between, really, because it's like a calendar, it's your training log, it's everything you want it to be. It's something I use my whole career, and randomly, I'm still using it today, even though I don't need to monitor my training that well. But I just love having that hub where it's all there. Obviously, I've got my history. Something that I used to love about TrainingPeaks is that it does monitor your CTL or your score or how fit you're sort of getting. It gives you a bit of a score. I don't know if it was that relevant for maybe Tom and I when we were racing because, we sort of just went to races and you were able to sort of ride into races. But these days, I reckon, Derbs, more than ever, it's so important to understand that data and use this, I guess, as a tool because when you guys go to whatever race it is, whether it's Down Under, UAE, Tour de France, you guys hit the ground running these days. Like, as the years have evolved, like, is TrainingPeaks, am I right there, or what's the go?
Oh, 100%. It's what I would say is like, when you see the cooking show and they're cooking at the start of the show and then all of a sudden like one I prepared earlier, like everyone is like one I'm prepared earlier. Like they're all baked and ready to go and they look nice and they're presented on TV. It's like there is no mistakes because now there is no like we'll see how you go. Pretty much now the training with TrainingPeaks and with coaches, they can tell you pretty much exactly if you are going to be ready or you're not going to be ready. And people are selected by that. I was discussing this with a teammate post UAE, and it was an interesting one because UAE is sometimes a bit of an easier race, and guys were actually, out there on the ergo after the race pushing to try and get their training load up. It sounds ridiculous, but like we would be doing, 120 TSS, which is your training stress score for the day. And that might not be enough. Say if they were home training in Belgium or France or whatever, they might do 150. So before or after, there was guys doing kilometers to try and get that score to reach their goal of being at the right fitness and the right fatigue and all that sort of stuff. So on my app, I mean, now we're on live video now. It's amazing.
Mhm.
But pretty much this is what I've got here, and that's my
Ooh.
score. So I'm at 120,
Right.
but I'm also at minus 12 in terms of it's not fatigue, but I use it as the fatigue score. And pretty much when I get back to 0, it doesn't matter how. I was talking to a teammate of mine beforehand. Oh, come on, show me
That's
what we've got
fine.
before
Oh.
48. 48.
I'm actually doing all right. Wait, can you see it?
Yeah, I
there?
know. It's pretty tricky with the it says 48.
It's
No,
not
fatigue's
bad.
15, no? Isn't fatigue 15?
Yeah. Well,
You're buckled, mate.
how do I do it? It's 15. I'm fatigued. No, fatigue 29, form 15.
You're prime. You're ready to go. I mean, it'll take you quite a while to get to where I am. But anyway, it's just we had discussed that you literally look at it, you know it, you pretty much open it every single day. All your training's on there. So it's like your Bible.
Well, get across because TrainingPeaks have offered an exclusive offer for all Life in the Peloton members and subscribers. So get across. It's a 20% discount to try it out. Well, whatever you want to do, use it for a year, use it for long term. You get a 20% discount, and that's on the premium. So get across and check that out. And I'm glad to have those guys on board so I can keep chugging along. You know what I found out also? You know how I was banging on last week about how EF actually is paying for my TrainingPeaks, or last month?
Just sent you a bill for 4 years.
I realised I'm just paying for it. I don't know when I signed up for it, but I'm just straight up paying for it. I'm like, what the hell?
Just like Netflix, Apple TV, Strava, TrainingPeaks.
Yeah.
So I need to chug in and get my 20% off. All right. Should we get into a bit of show? If for the first time listening, what we're doing, I do a bit of racing recap. Durbo gives us the download from the Pelo Chat. And we've got Talking Tactics with Southam later on in the show. Boys, there's been heaps of racing, so much racing. You can't cover all the racing this time of year, nor do you really want to. And I really missed a lot of it, and I was just watching results. For me, it's more about really who's looking good this time of year rather than how the races played out. Just running through some races, there's stuff over in the Middle East. Alula Tour, Tom Pidcock picked up a couple stages there. He also went on to get a stage, I think it was in Route du Sud as well. Ruta del Sol, sorry. So he, for me, is come onto that new team. He's looking quite good. We've got opening weekend, which I want to talk about later on, but this is perfect start for him. Coming to that new team, coming back, showing that he's back in good form. The team that I really want to point out for me is UAE, and we go to Oman to finish off the Middle East. We go to Oman and the UAE tour. UAE Team Emirates, GRX, what are they called now? XRG. Domination. Absolute domination in the early season races. I've done a quick head-to-head. UAE, Visma, Bora. So at this time of year, UAE have got 4 GC wins with Navarez in TDU, Sivakov in Ruta del Sol, Yates in Oman, and Pog in UAE Tour. They won the Figueira Classic and Champions League, or whatever it is in Portugal, whatever that race is, with Morgado. They've got 2 1.1 wins in Spain as well. If they weren't winning, they also finished second with João Almeida in 2 GCs. On the other hand, Visma, they're only looking at 1 GC win with Jonas Vingegaard in Algarve. They've got 2 stages in Oman with Olive Koy, where there's sprint stages, so it's not really looking good for GC, and Jonas won the TT. Bora, another step down, 2 stages. They've only got 2 stages at TDU, a third in GC at TDU, and the only other thing I could really find was they got 2 stage wins, one in Ruta and one in Algarve. So when you're comparing those teams now, UAE, just total domination of the early season races.
Yeah, UAE, just complete domination. Not really much to say because me and Tom were both speechless, actually.
Yeah, blown away by it.
Blown away. But in the end, I think what they've done, UAE, is just like they were the best team in the world last year, and then it's pretty hard to like replicate that. But then this year they've just gone another level again, another good amount of signings. Their consistent guys are performing. It's just, to be honest, it's a pretty insane team. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they go to like the Flemish Classics. Like that is probably one area that they, other than when Pog turns up to win Flanders, it would be interesting. Like if Niels Pollitt,
Morgado, mate.
continues the form he had and things like that.
That Portuguese kid is absolutely flying. Do you see him on in Algarve on the climbs? Like super interesting about UAE is they actually lost like high point scoring riders. Like they actually shipped a bunch of guys out, like Hershey, and so on paper they actually had like a weak transfer season, but they've obviously like transferring well for the future. Because I mean, I was looking the other day, like just for an example, I was looking at so I'm doing Phone Ardèche, so on Saturday, and I was looking at their team for it. So it's Ayuso, McNulty, Sivakov, Kristen, Del Toro, Micah, and Arietta. So it's like, who do you even pull with? Like who starts pulling? It's unbelievable.
That's insane. They could all ride GC there at least.
I mean, wow.
That seemed like it's throughout the all races, like because there's so much racing going on now. All those, second tier. I call them second tier. The Yates, the Sivakovs, they're all going in as like proper GC, man. And it's actually quite interesting to see how they run. And it's a great opportunity for these guys to run their own race and ride for a victory, because the rest of the year they've got to slot into that all important GC role.
But it's interesting that not always when you throw money at a problem that it works. You know what I mean? Like if you were to just, I think they've got, I would say that have more than half their teams probably over $1 million, which is a lot of other teams can't afford that and can't get those riders. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it builds a team to win. You know what I mean? But they are just like, if one guy goes to a race, he knows he has to win, because if he doesn't win here, then he's a worker. So those guys are coming in like super hungry, super young guys going, yep, I get paid well, but if I don't win Route del Sol, then I'll never get leadership at Paris-Nice, or I'll never get leadership at Torino one time when Poggy's not there, or a Grand Tour where there's probably got, I don't know, probably like 6 guys that can ride at least podium in a Grand Tour nearly, potentially. And they know they're never going to get that opportunity unless they step up straight away in these races. But it will be interesting because they're all come out super firing to prove their point. And you just wonder if like 6 of them are all just like completely plummeted and fatigued by the time it rocks around to the big races, because they've all been racing each other to see who is the best next guy behind Poggy, you know?
But it's almost like an inversion of what Visma's doing, right? So you mentioned there, like Visma's start to the year is super slow, like really slow. If you look at how much, like the rankings from this year, they're way down. They've barely done anything, right? Whereas UAE is winning 3-4 stage races like all over the shop. So I feel like, it's like you say, though, I feel like at Visma, they go, right, here's the hierarchy. It's like this. The tour's going to work like this. We're going to do this, 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 this. And you all know your place. Whereas at UAE, everyone's fighting like hell for that opportunity, which is going to work for X amount of time. I think it worked at Quick Step for a long time. You know, it's like whoever went first got the backing of the team. And it's almost like when I look at lists like that, it's like, well, if I was there and I was one of those guys, I just want to be the one who's down the road, because then the other guys have to look after me and then I have to finish the job. So, because I think, I mean, I look at them a lot operationally, and you see the way different teams function. And I don't think it's like streets and streets and streets ahead. They have a lot of staff at races, for example. Like even at UAE, I mean, we shared a dining room with everyone. Like every other team had the same amount of staff, right? 3 soigneurs, 2 mechanics, doctor. They had like 30 people. You remember that hotel on the island there? How many people they had at dinner every night? It was just ridiculous. So, and that doesn't always fix things. Just more and more.
Is that because it was closer to the service course, I guess, there?
Yeah, must have been.
Yeah. But I think also, like you mentioned with Quick Step and what they did, and it was super successful. but eventually they left because everyone wanted to get their own opportunity with their not having to fight for it. You know, you got your Bob Jungles left and your things like that. But the problem is UAE, they lock them in for like 6 years. So like they have the money to go. Del Toro, for example, he would be getting better and better and better, and eventually one team would come and go, here, full leadership at, I don't know, EF, whatever, much more money than you're on now. You don't have to fight for your spot. You deserve it. Here it is. But the problem is, like, Quickstep can never lock their guys in for like 5-6 years. But Del Toro and all those young guys, they're like, here's another year. Here's another year. They're like 5-year deals, 6-year deals. So they're actually not going anywhere, you know?
Yeah,
but it doesn't always necessarily work when those guys leave. You often saw the Quickstep effect, that fight to be better, and the Wolfpack effect made a lot of riders better. And when they left, they sort of weren't. You know, it's almost like the old US Postal, and maybe a different era. It's a bad comparison, but you know, when guys sort of went, you know what, Lance, I'm going to go out and just be a GC man myself. Like often, they couldn't really do it. You know, maybe it was a bad example that one, but
sending that bomb to their house.
I
sent anthrax in the post. Yeah, you go.
Let that one go to the keeper, that one.
And blow your car up.
All right, let's talk about some real racing, and that's what I'm most excited about. Leather, no run. Let's talk about the opening weekend, and Durbs, I'm assuming you're priming up for it. Southam,
I'm not going.
He's not going, mate.
What?
I'm not going.
Why?
I got a year off.
Why are you going?
Because I actually didn't want to go.
Mate, it's a slippery slope. You say you don't want to go to a classic, that's it. It could be all over.
Oh, okay, should be it. We've got about 7 guys who want to do the classics in this team, so I guarantee I'll be having a spot if I want to do it. But nah, I wanted to just do UAE and get another stage race in, because I actually don't get too many stage races in before the classics. I do it at under and then Paris-Nice, and then that's it. But I wanted to do one more stage race leading in to the classics and another heat. I reckon the heat's got some real big performance benefits. And then I thought I'll do UAE. But then all of a sudden they changed the dates and you can actually do both. But it's still a bit of a quick turnaround. Like if you think about it, we've only got one guy, I think, doing Kuurne out at UAE. It's pretty flirting with getting sick. You come back from the heat, you come into the cold. You know, you've got to be careful with that management. And you go straight to Omloop, get, you know, completely different beast to UAE. And then all of a sudden you spiral down. And I've had a few times I rock up to opening weekend coming out of Aussie summer and I just get sick there, and then something happens and I'm feeling a bit shit. And then all of a sudden I'm a bit getting behind the 8 ball for Paris-Nice, and then sort of spiral effect. So I'm hoping to stay healthy this week, train well, do a good Paris-Nice, and then have a stronger classics.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. Do you or don't you? And, you know, Mads Pedersen, who has shown some good form again in the early races. He had a stage win at Provence. The team, Lidl Czech, are looking really good. They've also got Jonathan Milan, who showed really good stuff last year in the classics. He had a couple stage wins at UAE. But then you got Matthias Vajcek, who's looking really good too. He was 3rd in the classic down in Portugal. I think he's going to have a great opening weekend, but you know, Mads is stepping out of it. It worked for him last year. The theory there, it can be a bit of a psychological theory, and I believe, I was joking about it at the start, but I believe in what you say. I was always of the theory, if you're going to go to opening weekend, do one, don't do both. And if you can, as an older rider, maybe avoid the opening weekend and get some good training in and hit the classics. But on the other side, if we want to talk about what the opening weekend does give you, because you can try and get your head around that, Durbs, help everyone understand. I can help them too, sort of, if I can remember, trying to erase sometimes that, what the opening weekend can do to you as well. If you're psychologically, I think if you come out of the opening weekend, it can also put you in a good spot, because you get through the war, you come out and you go, you know what? I'm actually good. I'm good this year for the classics. It can set you up in a really good way. And everything from there, I remember coming out of the opening weekend, I went to the Paris-Nice. I felt really good about myself. I had a great Paris-Nice and the ball was rolling. You know, it snowballs.
Oh, definitely. I I think, it can be. I think it's too much of a lottery to really know. I think if you go up there opening weekend and it looks like it's going to be dry and like 8 degrees, I think for Omloop. So that's not too bad, and like you can have a good weather up there. Check the tires, get the equipment. I've always seemed to struggle with that initial hit out in the classics. It's just like nothing else. The neutral in Omloop is just gnarly, and next minute everyone's just like, okay, we've all been thinking we're going to have the best season of our life, and you realize that when you get to the opening weekend, it's just like it's next level stress, but we have seen it quite often that Visma has come out and done 1, 2, 3 in Omloop and had a pretty poor classics, or won Omloop the last couple of years and had a poor classics, so I really don't think you can put a finger on it and go, this means something, because it's still so far away. But what I will say is that Omloop's a fantastic opportunity it's a World Tour one-day classic. So if you treat it like it's a race to be won, it's if I had won Omloop in my career, I'd be very, very, very happy with that, So I think it's an opportunity for young guys that potentially would be working for Mads Pedersen, Wout van Aert, Van der Poel, that they go to Omloop and actually don't disregard how they're going to go in the other classics. They actually go, I get leadership at Omloop and I'm going to win Omloop. And at the end of the classics, if I come out and I won Omloop and that was it, well, bloody good classic season actually, because there's only about 7 of them. So I think there's a different mentality for some of the young guys. We're sending quite a young team there, but it's like, go there and you won't have to work for anyone. Michael Matthews won't be there. I won't be there. Maybe Maxwell Shoutout will only do in Kuurne. Like there won't be guys that you actually have to help out. You can actually go there and actually just see how you go. So I think like you said, Mitch, it's a point of your career where you go maybe 5 years of doing opening weekend, and then it might be a point of like, actually, it doesn't really serve me better in the back end of the classics, and now I can perform in those better ones. So I'm going to take it off. But so that's where my opinion is there.
Let's run through quickly before we make our picks for the opening weekend, so everyone can get a quick little preview. I went through the course. I always love going through the course. There's a bit of a change this year. Durbo, you're going to try and reminisce and do a mind map of this. It's 5K shorter. This year, they're doing the Paterstraat first. Last year, they did the Paterstraat in the middle of the race. So that means they're going to go through a really hilly section, back-to-back climbs. After they do Haarhoek, obviously 3 times into Leeberg. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, you'll know when you're watching the race, but they're hitting that combination. But then they hit, after the second time Haarhoek, they go Valkenburg, Eichenberg, Wolvenberg, straight onto the Holloweg. Then they come back over Jagerij, which is another cobble section, and then into the Molenberg, Haarhoek, Leeberg, Beendries. Then they head over the Vossenhol, up the Kappelmerg, the Merg, and then to the Bosberg. It's like I said, it's pretty full on. Once you get second time, 120, that next 60K is on. I just named all the climbs and the cobble sectors in the next 60K. So it's a pretty brutal race. It's the old finish of Flanders back in the day. As I said, they go up the Mer, then over the Bosberg, and that's like, I think, 10K from there to the finish. So there's a bit of nostalgia there if you were watching the race back in the day. Boys, what is your pick? 1 pick for Omloop, 1 pick for Kuurne. Kuurne, just quickly, there's not much difference there. It's pretty much the same 1 lap. Durbo, was it always 1 lap when you come into Kuurne? I thought it was 2 laps.
No, it's changed. Last year, it's actually quite solid. They do a climb about halfway through or maybe a bit further in, and it's really, really hard. And Jumbo kicked off last year and split the race apart, and then there was 2 groups chasing all the way into Kuurne. So actually the mid-section now, we don't actually go up the Quaremont like we used to. And we do this other mid-section, but it doesn't make it any easier. And then yeah, pretty much it normally can be, say, reduced front group, maybe 2 or 3, and then a sprint. But yeah, look, it's easier than Omloop for sure, but it's not a sprinter's classic like most people used to think it was.
So who are we picking then, boys? 1 name. I'm going with Pidcock. I'm getting in first. Pitcock for Omloop het Nieuwsblad for me.
Ooh. I'm going to go with Tom Skuyens. Why not?
Oh, that would be cool.
Durbo, who have you seen? Who's sounding good?
I'm going to go with Navarez for UAE.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's got the national champ after Down Under. I don't think he's done anything since then.
No. And
what about Jorgensen?
An interesting one would be Loscano. He's moved over to Red Bull. And he had a mega classics last year. Never quite got the victory, but with maybe Red Bull support, like Tratnik's in there. You know, he won it last year. He's in Red Bull now too. So that Red Bull team looks pretty bloody good for the weekend.
Do we want to do one for Kuurne?
Probably going to go with Jordi Muse or Philipsen.
I was going to go with Philipsen. So
Philipsen would be a big call coming from UAE. That would be interesting because he was obviously there, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I spoke to him there, and he's not doing any Torino or Paris-Nice. He's going full classic spec this year. Like he's going to go back and after opening weekend go to altitude and then come in and hit the classics hard. So
yeah, right.
Which is just something new for him.
Southam, wrap us up, and we'll get into some Pelo Chat with Durbo.
All right. I'm going to go
it's on you.
with it's on me. All right.
What about one of your own?
I'm gonna avoid the nepotism of choosing one of my riders. Any one of the any one of them could go well. Marine, I'll go with Marine then.
Oh, it's true. He's been going good.
Marine's going good. Good team for the whole weekend. Actually, really nice team. So yeah, let's see how he goes.
All right, boys. Pelo Chat this month. I thought I'd go into a few little tech side of things.
Wait, I've just noticed the product placement. Did you strategically put the bike there?
I should see where I'm doing this podcast. There's one room in my house where that's the missus bike, and then we've got the TT bike with absolutely nothing on it, no seat post. So, do you want me to get like a chainring in the shot as well? What else we got? Anyway, all right. So Pelo Chat this month. So what I noticed is in UAE, look, it's been like this for quite a while. There is obviously a technical person for each team who is in charge of, the new aerodynamics or products, and it's all driven by the bike brands, potentially by a sports scientist, a biomechanist, or whoever inside the team who is driving, the next big performance changes. And we've seen massive changes in the last couple of years, obviously with tubeless tires, disc brakes, aero bars, skin suits, you name it. I mean, considering when you used to ride around, Mitch, with your jersey open, and Tom, just I don't even know, was there just as comfortable a position as possible.
T-shirts.
As far back as possible, mate.
As far back as possible. Well, so what I wanted to touch on is big chain rings. Now, these chain rings are getting actually out of hand. We have some talk that guys were racing. Well, I know for a fact that Max Weichel was racing with a 58 the whole week on his road bike. And
did he ever do 58.11?
No. That's the thing. So the reason we're going so big is they are running the chain straighter.
Yeah, right.
Which is less friction, more aerodynamic, and it's more efficient in terms of if you're going from 54 down to the 11, the chain's on an angle, and the 11 is quite a big friction gear. So in the TTs, I ran a 62 tooth in the TT, one chainring, and I heard that Josh Tarling ran a 64 or 68. I mean,
Jeez.
68 tooth chainring. And it's like, I get it. Like he averaged 56.6. I mean, he never went to the 11, but he's got a 68 tooth chainring on. So if you're talking about doing these custom changes on your bike, there's like, we're pushing the chainring size to such a point that the actual gears can't keep up. Like in terms of the mechanics are having a nightmare because yes, it is more efficient. But for example, I ran a 56-44 throughout the whole week. Didn't bother changing it off. But if I went to a 58-44, it's quite a big drop. And there's a lot of chain error and it's all fine for UAE. But if you go to Europe, you're in and out of the big chain ring, small chain ring. Like there's
a limit, isn't there, as to how much you can actually drop?
The drop, yeah, exactly.
How many teeth you can drop?
I don't exactly know the limit there.
So obviously, the bigger you go, the bigger the inner chainring has to go.
Yeah,
exactly. But also at the back now, because we can run a 34, you can go pretty big and have quite a small gear. You know, because
are you saying triples might be coming back?
Yeah.
Is that where you're getting to?
We did joke about that.
I rode a triple back in the day. Did you ever do a triple when we had the compact? When we used to have the compact cranks? Oh, no, we didn't have triples. We had the compact cranks. That's right.
Surely you never did a triple.
Triple. What were you mountain biking in the 90s?
But I don't think, for example, it's pretty tricky for bike manufacturers to work out if it's worthwhile to progress in that area because it's such a niche area. It's a pro area. You know, like they're going to have to make, that's why we've seen quite a lot of custom chainring brands come out that are pretty much for pros because Shimano, for example, like aren't going to sell a bike with a 58 on it. You know, if you're just a local cafe rider, you're not going to need more than a 54. So, for example, Shimano's our group set, fantastic group set, but is it got to a point where they're going to make a 58 and a 60? They don't. It's like, you know what I mean? Like doesn't sell in the bike room. So why would you even bother doing it? So this is where it sort of comes to.
When was the last time you rode the Hell Ride, mate? She's pretty quick out there.
So that was one thing I did notice. Another thing that's happening is road handlebars. So the limit for how narrow they can be is around 36 mil. And everyone's running around with like 36 millimeter bars. But these gravel bars that have a big flare are potentially allowing you to go even more narrow in the front because the width of the bar is from the outside. So I looked at the Alpecin team and I think Dillier, he had like a 4 centimeter difference between his hood and the outside of his drop. So that means when he came in the middle, he was like super compact TT position, but then in a sprint, nice and stable and cornering, etc. So we've sort of made a rule to bend your hoods in is not allowed. You can bend them into certain points, but pretty much the bar has just allowed you to have your hood where it used to be when it was fully bent in, and then you can have your drop flare out the side like a normal.
So as long as any part of the bar measures to 36 centimeters, doesn't have to be measured at a certain middle or something.
Yeah. So, and there's a 4 centimeter maximum from your hood to the width. So you can't have 5 centimeters. Like you can't flare out. You can't have just like a bar like that and completely out the other way. But 4 centimeters is the max.
What do you have?
I've got a 38-40.
So 38 in and
narrow.
It flares to a 40.
Yeah.
Wide bars then.
Well, I was doing some testing in early season, which I wanted to touch on with the aerodynamics of these bars. I went in the wind tunnel with my road bike. I wanted to answer a few questions, because when you're riding the front, it's quite important, your drag. And we don't actually look into it. We do so much work on TT position, but in your road bike position, you spend 90% of your time on your road bike. And so I went in to ask a few questions like, what is the most aerodynamic position on your road bike? And pretty much what we came out with is like what actually on a road bike looks more aero is more aero. Like in a TT bike, you might be like some see these positions, Cadell Evans was like super wide and up here. That was more aero than having your hands up here for him because his body shape was, different, et cetera, et cetera. But on a road bike, if you look aero, that's aero. If you're up on the tops here, just common sense questions were answered. But what I ended up finding was that in my aero position on my road bike, I was just a little bit less aero than my TT position.
Right.
Which was super surprising. Like I was
And you worked so much on that TT position and hold your head, don't move or whatever. You should just been on the roadie essentially the whole time.
Yeah, it blew my mind. It was crazy. But just to go to show how that's why also another aspect of why we are also going so fast. People are like, why are we going so fast? Need to do gear restrictions and this and that. It's like everyone is actually riding around with the CDA of their time trial position, and the same amount of watts gives you 10k an hour faster than
you don't have to go far back before you like really start to notice how much positions have changed. I think like they were playing old cycling videos in the dining hall at UAE, and they put that 2016 races on, and 2016 doesn't feel like a lot. You were racing. It's like, oh man, these guys, like their bars are so wide, like the kit's unaerodynamic. It looked like you were looking at a completely another time, and that's only 2016. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. Yeah. So, it's pretty much for me. That was
awesome.
Sort of all just touching on a few little things. Aero bars have been changed to the bike. The big chain rings are changing, and sort of all I'm seeing at the moment.
It's super interesting. I love hearing about all that. Not a world I really want to be in, but it's super interesting, and it's a really good understanding of why the bunch is going so fast. Everyone keeps asking, oh, it's so fast. Why is it going so fast now? Is it the carbs? Is it this? Is it that? At the end of the day, it's essentially 180 full-on teams time trial. Everyone taking a 30-second pull at the front and just get this train rolling.
Yeah, but also, I mean, if you're a climber, you're getting dropped off now by Durbs who's like on a 56. So the speed's already higher before you've hit the base of the climb. You know what I mean? The guys doing the lead out into the key points are those guys that can push massive gears fast. And like that's why it's through the roof,
Technically, all the KOMs should be ruled out, I think. Strava KOMs is illegal.
Apart from the ones around Lansfield, mate. There's a few of them dropping, isn't there? Cobalt.
All right, let's get some talking tactics with the mastermind.
All right, lads. So talking tactics this month. Since Down Under, I've obviously been at a UAE tour, and interesting thing happened there, which I think would basically come under a blunder of the month or a tactical fuck up of the month, let's say. Not so much on the part of Pog, but on the part of Lennart van Eetveld at the UAE tour. So for anybody who didn't see it, Pog one day basically appeared to be rolling back from having a pit stop. There was already a break down the road with like your typical early breaks gone, 4 or 5 guys. And all of a sudden, Pog and Novak basically went out the bunch. A couple of other guys jumped across to him, and they rode across a minute gap. And they, after 20 Ks or whatever, all of a sudden you had Pog, kid from Ineos, Langalotti.
He was in the leaders' jersey too.
In the leaders' jersey. Van Eetveld, who was last year's winner of the race, and then a whole bunch of guys going for the intermediate sprints. And they were out there for a good 110K on a desert stage with no reason to be there, apart from the fact they were there. And I mean, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, it's sort of funny to see, but then it became obviously quite a real thing. And the thing for me was, I guess Pog can do that, right? He can go and he can spend 100 Ks there, and he's safe when he gets back, and he's probably going to win the race anyway. But Van Eetveld, who's gone there with Lotto to support him and only him as last year's winner, going into that break and then riding all day, what the hell was he doing? Because he had his whole team who were just sat in the back going, oh, okay, well, our team leader's down. The brake was always going to get caught. But for Pog, it didn't matter if he got caught or not. This kid, last year's winner, spent all that extra energy and then 2 days later didn't make it into the Durbridge split on the final day on Jebel Hafid and didn't even get to race the final climb. So you think, tactically, I think Pog is so good that he can kind of do it. Whereas this guy, as I saw it, Van Eytveld just got super overexcited because he jumped across to it as well, and kind of let his race go there, which is a bit of a shame. And I'd love to know.
I got a couple of things to touch on. So Van Eytveld, he had, mate, we could just talk about the blunder of the entire week. Right now, this is every story. Poor guy, I don't even know him, so I'm not going to he might be a really nice guy. But let's start with day one. Day one, he makes his entire team ride second wheel to apply more TSS so he doesn't lose form.
No.
Right? So he rides second wheel. They weren't riding. At one point I looked up, I was like, it's a sprint stage. I'm like, what's Lotto doing? Lotto riding. And then I hear rumours that
they're getting ready for Viviani, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just pushing on the front. They weren't riding on the front, but they were just, second team on a flat stage into a headwind. You push a lot more than you are just down the back last wheel. So anyway, that's the first blunder. We go to the first mountain stage, and Poggy wins that. I can't remember the name of the climb, but anyway, I look over. I'm eating my rice. I've finished the stage. We're just about to get in the van. And I see Van Eytveld on an ergo doing like 30-30s. So we just finished a mountaintop stage, and he's on a home trainer. It's like, it was pretty warm, Tom, I remember. And and he's on the top of the mountain with an ergo, like doing efforts. And I'm looking over there going, like, what's going on there? And I asked one of my Dutch teammates, and he goes, I'm pretty sure he's pretty obsessed about keeping his, CTL up and load up. Anyway, so there's that one. Then the next day, he goes.
Why don't you just ride back?
You can't ride back. You're not allowed to do it in UAE, but it doesn't matter.
250 kilometer transfer standard.
It was 21k uphill. So he's done enough for the day, Anyway, then we go to the Pog stage with the attack. He goes in the break with Poggy. Apparently, Poggy wanted to do it as a joke, wanted to come back. Van Eytveld said, no, I'm not coming back.
So really?
Poggy didn't want to have to then put his whole UAE team on the front to chase Van Eytveld because he was on GC. So he was like, I better just stay here. So Van Eyveld's then done that.
Oh, was he? Oh, it's like, don't poke the bear.
My God. And then he's obviously missed the final stage and had to torch his entire team, which were obviously already done extra efforts they didn't need to get 12th place on GC. Well done, Van Eytveld. Great job.
Yeah, I mean,
what a week.
You would think it's a difficult race to make so many mistakes because it's pretty straightforward race, and it is like
straightforward.
It's like, okay, this is going to happen here. This is going to happen here.
That's the most important thing. What's he come out of the CTL? Is he tapping 150, 160?
Look, I completely disagree what Poggy did because I think that's okay for Poggy because he's in the yellow, and if anyone did it back to him, he can just ride back himself. Like, for example, when he attacked, the brake had gone, UAE's blocking the road saying the brake's gone. Poggy stops for a piss, comes back for a piss, does a joke attack. And, I get that, but it's setting a pretty dangerous precedent that you're in the jersey. And look, to be honest, for Poggy, he doesn't matter. He can fix pretty much any damage. But, for example, if I found myself in the jersey at UAE after, 2 stages and I wanted to stop for a piss, I would hope that that's not an opportunity for someone to attack me. It's like everyone was pretty pissed about it. Like everyone was like, Poggy, just
don't do that.
And what happened was when he stopped for a piss, we went full gas on the last day just for 45 seconds, just with a full team. 3 teams just went whoosh go when he stopped for a piss. And then UAE came and just what the hell? And we're like, hey, man.
Yeah.
We were also pissing when you were attacked, and we had to put a guy on the front for 100 kilometers to bring you back. So, we're even now, but just don't do that.
Oh, barely. 45
barely.
seconds.
But like, what are you going to do? It's Pogacar. He's just going to chase you back in like 30 seconds. You're like, what are you doing? You're like, damn it. You're so strong. Damn it. But like, don't do that.
That's the problem. And it does because you're kind of listening to Radio Tour, like going, trying to decipher like what's happening in the race. And after a while, it sort of settles down. As long as nobody panics, obviously it's all going to come back and whatever. But it's like, I don't know how you guys thought of it, but I felt like, if I was the race organizer, it doesn't look great for the race, does it? When you can just you can just dick around in the race lead, and be like, I'm gonna win anyway. It doesn't make the race look better, does it?
No,
and everyone's saying, maybe he's doing it just to get a bit more training. It's like, yeah, but it's not really a good advert for it being a great race, is it?
No. If you have to attack to get training, no, it doesn't look that great.
No. I mean, I was curious as to like kind of what the reaction would be from his team, but I guess they just kind of say, you do whatever you want, mate. Like, no worries, because having
had no idea. Björk was pissing. He had no idea.
I'd spoken to his DSs before about like how they do the races, and they basically go, well, he just goes and does what he wants when he wants to do it, and that's that.
I had the same conversation with one of the DSs at the tour last year. He said, honestly, we just feed him the information that he standard information there, 3 minutes to the bunch, and Jonas is 1 minute and 4K to go on the climb and whatever, and they go, the rest is just all spontaneous from there. We just, but apparently that's what he said. It could have been bullshit, but I tend to believe that.
Yeah. I could fully see it. But yeah, so that was my little tactical segment. The other things I wanted to pick up on, we sort of touched on a little bit before, like kind of how teams are performing this year. And one thing for me that's really like jumped out is the rise of Trek and the rise of Red Bull, in terms of like moving into that sort of top team tier status, whereby it's not about money or anything like that. But when you go to a race, it's like, this is the team that's going to dictate what's going to happen. Every team has their plan, and you look at all the different teams and what they're likely to do. There's always, before it was like Sky's always going to ride, or UAE's always going to ride, or Visma's always going to ride. But now these are becoming the teams that are always going to, like Trek are really, really good at being, and Red Bull. When there's a point to go into first, they get there with numbers. So at UAE, every time it's split in any sort of win, there was 5 there from Trek. And you look at what Ciccone did on the last day. Ciccone had a great race. You look at what they're doing in other races in Provence. Like, they're the team that have, when you go around the bend, they've got 4 or 5 guys in the right spot. Strong guys. Bora, they've got a sort of a different type. They've got more sprinters, but they're always kind of like, okay, who's going to just do a burner up the outside with 3Ks to go and be in the right spot at the right time? It's going to be or a Red Bull. So those two teams have like really emerged, and much more, I would say, than Visma in the past. In 2025, Visma have not been they won Algarve, but not as a dominant force. They had the break, they had Tullett in it who got dropped on the Queen stage, and then they won the TT. But all of a sudden, you've got like this shifting. I see it as like a shifting dynamic in the bunch, in the peloton, as to who's going to dictate the races. And I think with like Pedersen going forwards into the classics, it's going to be
the team behind Pedersen is super strong. It's deep, and as you said, they're riding as a unit. We already saw that last year with Schoon stepping up as actually a player in the bunch now, opposed to just being a support guy. Vacek can just slot in as a bit of a wild guy. And, we always saw Milan last year was a dominant force. I haven't even gone through all their riders, but, I'm loving Trek moving into the classics, but we're going down another rabbit hole here.
But they also managed to get good guys to do things for other people, like Pedersen does. He does a lot of stuff for other people in the team. I believe this is something the boys at Race Radio have been hammering on about. Mitch, you'll have to fill us in on that.
Yeah. Look at the forgotten world champ, Mads Pedersen. He is such a, like, I've had an interesting relationship with him as a journo. He's quite hard to get an interview out of, and I sort of was a bit like, come on, Mads, give me something. But he's very sort of held back, but he's a very quiet spoken guy. And the brand new pod that we've brought on this year, the Race Radio, is a fantastic series. You should go across and listen to it if you haven't heard it, guys, because these guys, Harry and Stu, they're ultimate fans of the sport, but they've been around the sport for, a decade doing interviews and filming stuff. So they not only just love watching it, but they understand the way it flows, and they've got lots of friends in the Peloton as well. So they chatted to the media manager of Trek and got a really good insight to Mads. And, he wants to, when he retires, he goes, yeah, have a listen to it, but I'm paraphrasing here. He wants to support his wife. He goes, my time's over. I'm looking forward to swapping roles, and, it's her time there. And he's gone out and said that already. So go across and listen to that. Should we get into the quiz? Because I've got an interesting quiz for you on the eve of Geraint Thomas announcing his retirement.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, boys. Now, Geraint Thomas has announced his retirement. It was always on the card, so he says, and he was just sort of confirming for everyone. So I thought, you boys should know him. He's been in the Peloton for 19 years. How well do you know him? Both of you have raced with him. So I've got some questions. So Durbo, I'll go one for one. Durbo, you ready?
Yep.
This is A, B, C, or D. Which Welsh town is Geraint Thomas from? A, Newport, B, Cardiff, C, Barry, or D, Chester?
Cardiff.
Oh, would have been worried if you did not get that one. Well done, Durbo. Southam. Which football team does G go for? A, Manchester United, B, Arsenal, C, Manchester City, or D, he doesn't follow football at all?
Well, I've got no idea, but given when he was born, I would say Manchester United.
Oh, no, incorrect. He's a massive Arsenal fan.
No idea.
Did you know that, Durs?
Yeah, I was going to guess Arsenal. I don't know it for sure, but I've seen him say something about them.
All right, Durbo. This is going to go back to the track days. In 2009, Geraint Thomas broke the 4K individual pursuit legal record. What was at the time? What was his time, sorry? Given that he didn't break the standing record of the previous standing record of Chris Boardman of 4:11, which is the illegal record of the time in terms of he had the Superman position. What was the record he did? What time did he break? Was it A, he did a time of 4:15, B, 4:12, or C, 4:11.23? Boardman's record was 4:11.114.
4:15, I think.
How did you know that?
Well, because Bobridge broke the full record against Boardman in 4:10 in Sydney in national championships, but that was after 2009. And then no one was faster than that beforehand. So
You're a freak.
This is Durbo's quiz. This
is his
big
quiz.
fan of
All right.
Big fan of G. Big fan.
Number 2, for Southam. Amongst all the massive wins Thomas has claimed throughout his career, he has still not won the Tour of Britain. Is that true or false?
it's true.
You want to lock that in?
Yeah.
That is true. Correct. He has not won the Tour of Britain. It's a funny one, though. You sort of think, he should have won that, surely. All right. 2-1 to Durbo. Question 3. In 2018, the year he won the Tour de France, he also won which other prestigious race? Was it A, E3, B, Paris-Nice, C, Romandy, or D, Dauphiné? The year he won the Tour, 2018, which other race did he also win?
Paris-Nice.
That is incorrect. Paris-Nice was in 2016.
It was Dauphiné, wasn't it?
Romandy.
It was Dauphiné. Dauphiné 2018, Romandy 2021, E3 2015. Oh, Durbo. Southern's chance to come back. Here we go. Number 3. You and Geraint Thomas have ridden a total of 25 stages of the Tour of Britain together. Who has placed better in a head-to-head stage placings? The scores are 13 to 12. Are you running through all the stages? I can see you thinking, yeah, right, actually that stage up there, yeah,
no,
2 places.
No, because he was about 12 years old when I was he was doing the Tour of Britain as like a 19-year-old when I was like a grown adult.
He was 14.
So I should have finished in front of him, but there's a good chance I wouldn't have done. I'm just going to fucking back myself and say it must have been me. Otherwise, it'd be a trick question.
Thomas has won 13 better, and you have 12. Yeah. He's pipped you by one stage, even though he's only a 14-year-old. He had the junior gearing on.
Triple chainring.
The triple. All right, question 5. Last question for you, Durbo. In 2008 Beijing Olympics and 2012 London Olympics, he won gold in the team's pursuit. Which rider rode alongside G in both Olympics? Was it A, Peter Kenyak, B, Sir Bradley Wiggins, D, Ed Clancy, C, Ed Clancy, or D, Paul Manning? Which rider also did both Olympics with G?
Which Olympics are we talking again? So
Beijing and London, where they won gold.
I'm torn between Wiggins and Clancy. I'm going to go Beijing. He's pretty young. Beijing, and sorry, the other one again was?
London.
Oh, okay. Clancy.
I confirm that for you. It just became so crystal clear. Oh, London. Yeah, Clancy.
Yeah, because Wiggo won the TT in London.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's about time Paul Manning got a mention on the pod. He doesn't get many mentions, but good to hear Paul get a shout
First
out.
time.
Yeah.
Upon retirement, Thomas has stated officially he wants to do one of these sporting challenges. Ride Cape Epic, do an Ironman, swim the English Channel, or attempt riding around the world's record. Which challenge does G want to do next?
I've not read very many Geraint Thomas retirement interviews, I can tell you.
This is known knowledge around the world. The Channel, Epic, Ironman, or try and challenge the world record.
I mean, if I were him, I would go for the Cape Epic.
Not the Channel.
He wants to cover himself in duck fat, swim across the Channel. I mean,
I think that's wrong, isn't it?
Surely it's Cape Epic. Come on.
It's not. He said he wants to do an Ironman.
Ironman, I know, I saw that.
Durbo is onto it.
An Ironman in the Channel.
I love how you're getting murdered in this, Southam. This is awesome. You normally crush these crushes.
It's the worst quiz I've ever done.
All right, Southam, Durbo, this is your last question. In 2017, G was the first Welshman to wear the yellow jersey. True or false?
True.
That is correct. That's the last question.
Has he got everything right? Is that
No, he fucked up one.
Ah, right. Okay.
Last one for you, Southam. Thomas has finished 5 times on Grand Tour podiums. Which races were they? And obviously it's multiple because there's not 5 Grand Tours. If could be including Southland, the 4th Grand Tour, but he hasn't ridden that one yet.
So zero.
How many times?
Tour.
Yeah. How many times each?
2 at the Giro, 3 at the Tour.
Well done. Southam, you're back in.
Yeah.
Durbo wins. I did have a bonus question, but it's not
Throw it out there
necessary.
anyway. Go on. Throw it out there. Buzzer. First one to get it. Wins everything.
All right. You can just go 1 for 1 until someone can't get one. He has a total of 9 stage race victories, not including the Tour de France. What are they? Durbo, first one.
Oh, stage victories.
Stage race
Romandy,
victories. Romandy, Durbo. Southam?
Dauphiné.
Paris-Nice.
Tour.
No, stage race, not Grand Tours.
Ah, right. Oh, fuck. We just said all these things, didn't we?
Um,
There's a couple multiples in there.
Is he one Swiss?
is it
No.
2 in Romandy?
He's won Swiss, Southam.
Ah, yes, yeah.
Oh. Dauphiné?
Dauphiné, yep. That's 5. We've got 4 left. They're all small races.
Tour of Britain?
Junior Tour of Wales.
Not that small.
Oh.
Has he won a stage in Algarve?
Oh, he's won
GC.
Algarve.
He's one
GC,
Algarve,
one
yeah.
Yep. And are you saying Algarve as well? Well done, Tom. That's 2.
Yep.
Twice
2
Algarve.
Algarves. How many
You've
more
only got 3 left. 1 multiple and
Down
1
under.
race that...
He's never won down under.
He won a stage in Down Under, no?
I thought
No.
GC. He won
GC.
Oh.
Stage race.
What's doing stage?
So he won something.
He's going to go do it this year.
Tour of Tassie.
It's not Southland. The 4th Grand Tour, no. He's not doing that.
I'm out. I'm definitely out.
All right. It is Bayern Rundfahrt 2 times and the Tour of the Alps. I just find it so incredible how diverse he is and the races he's won. When you go through his career, you know he's good, but when you go through his career like that, you're just like, this is just outrageous. The track stuff, the classics, all those races. So, boys, as always, it's been a big one. I've loved it. I've loved seeing Southam getting crushed in the quiz. Durbo, drinks are on Southam. Let's cash in. I might fly across. Boys, until next week. Thanks to our partner, TrainingPeaks as well. Boys, let's do it.
Thanks, guys. See you, mate. See you, boys.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend, Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.